What is happening, everybody? All right, so I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks on installing a rear resonator delete on a 2015 and up Challenger. This is utilizing the Pypes SMC31MS kit, but I'm pretty sure that these same tips and tricks will hold true for any rear reso delete. So here's what the pipes look like. Keep in mind, I have already installed these once. It was basically test, fit, and run so I could get an idea for what they were going to sound like, but the main thing is that I have already installed them because realistically, to get this right, you need to install them a couple of times to make sure that you don't have too much pipe coming into your new pipe. In other words, when you cut your stock exhaust, you may have to cut it a few times to get it just right. The idea here is you only want this 2-inch section of your factory pipe in this pipe. Any more than that, and you can do a couple of things. One, you just have so much pipe in there, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. It's going to start binding. And two, and kind of give you an idea, but the more pipe you put into this thing, it'll still wedge into there, but then you end up basically jacking up your short side radius for exhaust flow. You don't want to do that. So again, this is a 2-inch section here, and the way you get to that more or less is just through test fitting. I'm going to give you a quick set of numbers here. On the driver's side, and this is measuring from the middle of the butterfly valve itself, it's exactly 6 inches, and that's where I made the cut. On the passenger side, again, measuring from the middle of the butterfly valve, 7.5 inches. And again, roughly 2 inches for that flange. Actually, this is the second cut that I made. The first cut was actually about the width of my thumb, wider than that. So anyway, here's what the pipes look like. They do not come with the tips. These are the factory tips, but you get some pretty decent looking hardware with this kit. Gotta admit, I was kind of surprised, but you know, the good AccuSeal style clamps. Same goes for the clamp that holds the factory tip in place. One thing that I wanted to show you guys too, this is here kind of for illustrative purposes. Your factory pipe, these clamps are actually welded to the can itself. And what you're going to need to do to get the factory tips off is you're going to take this bolt out and you're going to want to fillet this thing down about as much as you can. And then reach for something like WD-40, PB Blast, or something like that, like a penetrating oil. You're going to spray that just inside of here because the tip actually goes around this side. So you're going to want to spray just around this outside lip on the inside of the pipe and let it sit. Don't try to force it. Got that rubber mallet sitting over here. By the way, these are all the tools that I used to do this installation. But anyway, you're going to tap that tip, you know, just let it soak. If it doesn't pop off easily, or at least with a couple of good whacks, don't try to wail on it. Don't get all, you know, Sammy Sosa with it. Just give it a little bit more time, spray it again, and then come back and get it. It will pop off. I got a little bit impatient with this one, and I bounced that tip off of my forehead because I whacked it a little bit too hard and it flew off of there. So, word to the wise. So anyway, tools that you're going to need, obviously safety glasses. I also very much recommend a long sleeve shirt, gloves, because when you're using your chop saw, you're hacking those pipes, you got a lot of hot shavings coming off of there and they can cook you pretty good. So a mask is also recommended for this. Speaking of which, I'm using an 8-inch DeWalt 18 tooth per inch saw blade. And it's flipped upside down. Don't mind that. I bounced that off the differential. No harm, no foul. But you're going to want to flip that blade upside down and cut from the bottom up. Other things that are going to be helpful, you're going to want to have a pipe expander or at least a couple of spanners on hand in case these things were bent or damaged in transit. I've got my pipe expander out because, again, this one's already been installed. And because of the clamping down onto those, I just went ahead and hit it with the pipe expander. But a couple of spanners will get in there and open those up a little bit. Just don't get too crazy with it. Your tape, and that's going to be to tape off the area that you're going to use, that you're going to cut with on your pipe, your factory pipe. And then, of course, well, there it goes down there. Some kind of a, fuckamaCall to measure, you know, a good solid ruler helps a lot. But anyway, a 14 millimeter socket, 15 millimeter socket, your favorite drill, and some extensions for getting to the bolt that is on the tip side on the hanger. So this little guy right there. If you're also being thorough with this, you're going to want to clean up your cuts. So get you a Dremel with a cartridge roll. And that pretty much wraps it up as far as what you're going to need and some of the pitfalls. But again, I'll just put this back over here so you guys can see it. 6 inches on the driver's side, measuring from the middle of the butterfly valve. This is where I made the cut on this car for this kit. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean that's every kit, but 6 inches on the driver's side, 7.5 inches on the passenger side. And that pretty much wraps it up, guys. As far as driving impressions, can't really tell the difference between this and stock. It's slightly louder, like maybe 5 to 10%. I mainly did it more for the aesthetic than anything else. I just don't like seeing, you know, these resonators hanging down from underneath my car. And as far as a weight savings goes, it's not a huge weight savings. It looks like it would be, right? In reality, you're only looking at just a shade over 10 pounds in terms of weight savings in total. So if you're doing this for weight, really not worth it. But for me, it was more about the aesthetic. I picked up a little bit of noise in the process, and it was fun. I got to do something to the car that I've been wanting to do for a while. And hopefully this helps you guys out. And that's a wrap. I'm going to get this thing buttoned back up and go make some noise. Y'all have a great one. Adios.